Mateo had been talking to Sofia for weeks. They met on a dating app, and the connection was instant. She was charming, intelligent, and mysterious. Every night, they stayed up late texting, sharing secrets, and laughing about silly things. He felt like he already knew her. So when Sofia suggested an unusual first date, meeting in her country house just outside the city, Mateo hesitated but ultimately agreed. It's a beautiful place, quiet, no car noise or annoying people, she had told him. Though he found the idea of such an isolated spot a bit strange, his curiosity and excitement won out. The road to her house was long and winding, with thick trees on both sides. His GPS lost signal 10 minutes before he arrived, and his phone showed no service. The deeper he drove, the more uneasy he felt. When he finally reached the house, his stomach twisted. The cabin stood alone in the middle of the dense woods. It looked old and neglected, the wooden door slightly cracked, the windows covered in grime. The trees seemed to press in, swallowing any sign of civilization. Mateo parked his car, hesitating before stepping out. No other cars, no streetlights, just silence. Before he could reconsider, the door creaked open and Sofia appeared. She smiled, a slow, deliberate smile. "You made it." Inside, the cabin was unsettling. There was almost no furniture, only a table in the center with 2 chairs. In the dim candlelight, Mateo noticed boxes stacked in the corners. No television, no photos, no personal touches. "It's a bit empty, isn't it?" he joked nervously. "I like minimalism," Sofia said smoothly, closing the door behind him with a click. Dinner was already served, something that looked like stew. The taste was strange, metallic. Then, the dizziness started. His vision blurred. His limbs felt heavy. Sofia watched him, resting her chin on her hands. "Are you okay?" she asked, her voice calm, her smile never fading. He tried to stand, but his legs refused to move. A cold sweat ran down his back. Sofia leaned in closer, her dark eyes locked onto his. "Relax," she whispered. "I always love meeting new people and collecting their memories." The room darkened. The last thing he saw before losing consciousness was a figure emerging from the shadows. A gaunt, hollow-eyed face. A grin that stretched too wide to be human. The next morning, the cabin was empty. No furniture, no Sofia, and no Mateo. Carla hadn't dated in months. She had been too busy with work, exhausted from past relationships, and, to be honest, a little afraid of putting herself out there again. But Andres seemed different. They met on social media, exchanged messages, and after a few weeks, she finally agreed to meet him in person. They chose a small cafe downtown, cozy, intimate, but public enough to make her feel safe. When she arrived, Andres was already there, waiting at a table by the window. He looked just like his pictures, maybe even better. He stood as she approached, flashing a warm, easy smile. "I was worried you wouldn't show up," he admitted. Carla laughed. "I almost didn't, but here I am." The conversation flowed naturally. They talked about their favorite movies, childhood memories, and places they wanted to visit. The cafe was dimly lit, the scent of coffee and vanilla filling the air. And for the first time in a long while, Carla felt a spark of excitement. Then, in the middle of her story about a childhood vacation, Andres suddenly straightened up. "I'm going to the bathroom. Be right back," he said, flashing her a reassuring smile before disappearing down the hallway. Carla nodded, watching him go. At first, she scrolled through her phone, thinking nothing of it. But after 5 minutes, she glanced toward the bathroom door. Still no sign of him. Another 10 minutes passed. Her stomach tightened. She texted him, "Everything okay?" No response. The cafe wasn't big. She could see the entrance clearly from her table. He hadn't left. After 20 minutes, she finally stood up. Something was wrong. She walked toward the bathroom, her heart pounding harder with each step. She knocked gently. "Andres." Silence. Her throat tightened. She pushed the door open. Empty. The bathroom had no other exit. No windows. No doors except the one she had just walked through. Her pulse hammered in her ears. She hurried back to their table, and that's when she noticed something chilling. Andre's jacket was still draped over his chair. His phone was lying face up on the table. If he had left, why would he abandon his things? She picked up his phone with trembling hands. The screen was still on, showing an open messaging app. The last message he sent made her stomach drop. "Help me. Don't turn around." The words blurred as panic set in. Then, before she could react, a waitress hesitantly approached her. "Are you okay?" she asked. Carla turned to her, clutching the phone. I was here with someone. Andres. But he went to the bathroom and never came back." The waitress paled. "Did you say short hair? Black shirt?" Carla nodded. The waitress took a step back, her voice barely a whisper. "That guy. He was here 2 nights ago, with another girl." Carla's breath hitched, and she disappeared too. A creeping dread wrapped around her chest. Her fingers tightened around Andre's phone. Then suddenly, it vibrated in her grip. A new message appeared from an unknown number. "You didn't look hard enough. I'm right behind you." A cold breath touched the back of her neck. Carla's body froze. She felt it, the presence, standing directly behind her. The air around her grew heavy, her vision blurred at the edges. Slowly, she turned her head. The cafe went dark, and then silence. Lucas and Valeria met at a party, introduced by mutual friends. Their chemistry was instant. After days of texting and flirting, Lucas finally asked her out. Something simple, he suggested. A movie. Valeria agreed. They picked a late-night showing of a thriller. The perfect mix of casual and suspenseful. When they arrived at the theater, it was almost empty. Only a few people were scattered in the front rows. Lucas found it odd. It was a popular movie. "Weird that it's this empty," he murmured. "Better for us," Valeria joked, grabbing his hand and leading him to the back row. The lights dimmed. The movie began. Then Lucas noticed him. A man with pale skin and sunken eyes sitting several rows ahead. But he wasn't looking at the screen. He was turned slightly, his head tilted unnaturally, staring at them. Lucas shuddered but tried to ignore it. Maybe the guy was just weird. But every time he glanced back, the man was closer. First, he was 3 rows ahead, then 2, then 1. Lucas's pulse quickened. His hands felt clammy. "Valeria," he whispered. "We should go." She turned to see what he meant, but the man was gone. The tension in Lucas's chest didn't ease. Then his phone buzzed. A notification. "Don't look back." A breath of icy air brushed against his ear. Valeria gripped his arm. "Lucas," she whispered, her voice barely audible. Her fingers were trembling. The temperature in the theater plummeted. The air felt thick, heavy, like they were no longer alone. Lucas's breathing hitched. He knew. Something was behind them. He clenched his jaw, squeezing Valeria's hand. And then, a slow, wet breath exhaled against his neck. His phone vibrated again. Another notification. "Got you." Lucas snapped. He grabbed Valeria's hand and bolted from their seats. They sprinted down the stairs, shoving past the empty rows, bursting through the exit. When they stumbled into the lobby, it was empty. No workers, no other guests. They turned back to the theater entrance. Pitch black. Then, a flicker. The screen inside the theater flickered on again. And there they were, Lucas and Valeria, sitting in the last row, staring blankly at the screen. But they were still here, weren't they? A choked gasp escaped Valeria's lips. Lucas's phone vibrated one last time. A final message. "You never left."